Dawn broke cold over the crossroads outside Silver Ridge, Montana Territory. February 1882 painted the world in shades of gray frozen ground, colorless sky, wind that cut through threadbare cloth like a knife through butter. Clara Brennan stood beside her family's wagon, clutching a thin shawl around her shoulders. 23 years old, slight of frame, with eyes that had learned not to hope. Her father counted coins into a merchant's palm. Her mother wouldn't look at her. Her brother leaned against the wagon wheel, smirking. The transaction was nearly complete. "She'll work hard," her father said, voice flat as the prairie. "Got a bad leg, but she can cook, clean, mend. Worth what you're paying." Merchant Gibbs thick-necked, tobacco-stained teeth nodded. "I'll get my money's worth." Clara's limp, barely noticeable when she walked careful, had sealed her fate. Fell from a horse at 14, the bone healed crooked. Her family decided she'd never marry, never contribute. Better to sell her for honest work than watch her waste food. "This is mercy," her father said, not meeting her eyes. "You'll thank us someday." Clara whispered, voice nearly lost in the wind. Mercy would have been a bullet. No one heard her. From a distant ridge, rancher James Cordell sat his horse in the morning mist. He'd stopped to rest his mount. Nothing more. But something about the scene below caught his attention, the way the girl stood apart. The way her family wouldn't look at her. The way she held herself straight, despite everything. Their eyes met across the distance. Just for a moment. He saw intelligence there. Devastation. Something unbroken beneath the surface. His hand tightened on the reins. Every instinct said ride down, intervene. But what right did he have? What claim he stayed where he was? The family wagon rolled away without looking back. Gibbs grabbed Clara's arm, shoved her toward the trading post. She stumbled but caught herself. Didn't cry. Didn't beg. She disappeared into the shadowed doorway. Cordell watched until there was nothing left to see. Then he turned his horse toward home. Unable to shake the image of her face. Something had cracked open inside him. He didn't understand it yet. But he would. 3 days passed like winter syrup, slow, cold, bitter. Cordell rode into Silver Ridge under gray skies, threatening rain. Locals nodded respectfully. He was known wealthy, reclusive, fair in his dealings, owned the largest ranch in the territory, lost his wife and infant daughter 5 years back. Hadn't been the same since. He tied his horse outside Gibbs's trading post, ostensibly for supplies. Inside smelled of tobacco, old leather, and something rotten beneath the floorboards. Gibbs looked up from behind the counter, eyes narrow with calculation. "Cordell, what brings you what? Need flour, coffee. Heard you got new help." Gibbs grunted. "The crippled girl works hard enough when I'm watching, sleeps in the shed out back." Cordell kept his face neutral. "Sounds like she's earning her keep. More than her family thought she would." Gibbs laughed, a wet sound. "They practically gave her away." Cordell bought his supplies, asked casual questions, learned Clara scrubbed floors barefoot despite the cold, worked from before dawn until after dark. No pay, just roof and scraps. He found her behind the building, splitting firewood. Her hands were bleeding, raw knuckles, split palms, but she worked steady, humming something soft, a hymn, maybe defiance wrapped in gentleness. When she saw him, she straightened, wiped her hands on her apron, met his gaze without flinching. He saw it clearly now. She wasn't broken, just unbowed by people who should have cherished her. "You got a name?" he asked. "Clara." Her voice was hoarse but steady. Not that it matters to him. It matters. Something passed between them. Recognition. Maybe, or just two lonely souls seeing each other in a world that preferred looking away. That night, Cordell returned. Gibbs was drunk, as usual. His wife answered the door, a tired woman with kind eyes and bruised wrists. "I want to buy Clara's contract," Cordell said quietly. "Triple what her family took, Plus this. He handed her a land deed small plot, but hers alone. Mrs. Gibbs stared at the paper, then at him. Why, because she deserves better. He'll be angry. Let him. She woke Clara, whispered urgently, He's taking you. Go. Don't look back. Clara climbed into Cordell's wagon, clutching a bundle of belongings that fit in her 2 hands. She was rigid with fear and confusion. Another transaction. Another sale. Cordell said nothing. Just drove into the night, toward something neither of them could name yet. The journey stretched through darkness into dawn. Clara sat stiff, hands folded, eyes forward. Cordell drove in silence, letting the land speak instead, vast plains opening like a promise, mountains distant and solid, sky lightening to pale gold. The only sounds, hooves on frozen ground, wind through dry grass, a crow calling somewhere overhead. Finally, Clara spoke, voice hoarse from disuse and cold. Why did you buy me? Cordell didn't answer right away, considered his words. Didn't buy you, he said at last. Bought your contract. There's a difference. You're free to leave come spring, soon as the pass is clear. Till then, you got a roof, food, honest work if you're able. Nothing you don't choose. Clara turned to look at him, really looked hard face, weathered by sun and grief, but his eyes were steady. Honest? What do you want from me? She asked. Company. If you're willing, work. If you're able, nothing you're not. She studied him a moment longer, then nodded, turned back to face the road. After a while, she told her story, voice flat, stripped of emotion by repetition and pain. Her family saw her limp as God's judgment, a sign she was meant for less. They needed her gone, one less mouth, one less reminder of their failures. Selling her was practical, merciful, even in their minds. Cordell listened without interrupting when she finished. He spoke quiet. My wife Sarah died 5 years ago, her and our daughter, in childbirth. I got land, money, everything a man's supposed to want, but no reason to use any of it. Just existing, till I saw you. And now I got a reason to try again. The ranch appeared as the sun crested the horizon, solid log cabin, barn with fresh paint. Corrals neat and well-maintained. Cottonwoods along a creek that caught the morning light. Clara stepped down from the wagon, touched the cabin doorframe, warm wood, solid construction, care in every nail. She looked at Cordell. He stood back, giving her space to choose. Thank you, she said. He nodded. Welcome home. Clara. She crossed the threshold. Inside, fire laid in the hearth, quilt on a clean bed, table set for 2. For the first time in longer than she could remember, Clara felt the weight lift, just a little, just enough to breathe. The first 2 weeks passed in a rhythm older than either of them dawn chores. Midday work, evening quiet by the fire. Clara learned the ranch like a language she'd always known but never spoken. Feeding chickens came natural. Mending tack, cooking stew, organizing supplies, all tasks her family had called worthless when she did them. Here, Cordell noticed, thanked her, trusted her. Her limp barely mattered. She chose tasks she could control, moved at her own pace, stronger every day. Cordell taught without condescension, showed her the feed schedules, let her calculate ratios. When she did the math in her head, faster than he could with pencil, he stopped and stared. Your father was a fool, he said. Clara ducked her head, hiding a smile. They rode to town for supplies on a bright March morning. Silver Ridge was small. Narrow streets and wooden boardwalks, everyone knowing everyone's business. The stares started immediately. That's the girl her family sold. Cordell took her in unnatural. Wonder what he wants with a cripple. Clara's jaw tightened. Cordell noticed. Said nothing. At the general store, he bought her new boots, sturdy leather, fitted proper. The clerk raised an eyebrow but took his money. Outside, Clara looked down at the boots. You didn't have to, I know, Cordell said. Wanted to. That evening, by firelight, he taught her to read the ranch ledgers. She learned fast, revealed a gift for numbers that left him shaking his head in wonder. You should have been teaching school, he said, not scrubbing floors. Clara's smile faded. Some dreams die when you're called worthless long enough. Then we'll bury those old dreams and build new ones. Later, after she'd gone to bed. Mail arrived. A letter her father's handwriting, addressed to Cordell. He opened it, read 3 lines, then fed it to the fire. Clara appeared in the doorway, wrapped in a quilt. What was it? Nothing that matters. But they both knew. Her family knew where she was. And they weren't done. That night, Clara lay awake listening to Cordell pace in the next room. Storm clouds gathering, winter's last gasp before spring. Mid-March brought warmth ice breaking on the creek. First wildflowers pushing through thawed ground. Sun that lingered past supper. Clara knelt in the garden plot, planting seeds with careful hands. Her limp had faded to almost nothing. Work and good food had strengthened what neglect had weakened. Cordell watched from the porch, coffee in hand. Realized he was smiling. Hoofbeats interrupted the peace. Moses Trent, old rancher. Town elder. Honest as drought, rode up slow. His face told the story before his mouth opened. Got trouble coming. James, read Clara's family. Heard she's here. They're coming for her, or for money. Moses dismounted, creaked like old wood. Territorial law's murky on this. Unwed woman. Family can claim custody if they argue she's of unsound mind. Court might side with blood. From the barn. Clara heard every word. Old fear crawled up her spine like frost. She went inside, started packing her small bundle. Better to leave than drag Cordell into her family's poison. He found her 20 minutes later, bag on the bed, hands shaking. What are you doing? Leaving. Before they come. I bring trouble. No. His voice cut clean. You brought this place back to life. James, I was dead. Clara. 5 years walking around dead. You walked through that door and I remembered what living felt like. She turned away. Tears close. My family will destroy this. Destroy you. Then we'll fight them. Together. That night, spring blizzard hit without warning, Montana's way of reminding folks nature makes its own rules. Snow piled fast. Wind howled. Temperature dropped 20 degrees in an hour. They were trapped in the cabin. Fire burning. Windows rattling. World gone white. Clara sat by the hearth. Arms wrapped tight. Cordell added wood to the flames, then sat beside her, close but not touching. Tell me about her. Clara said quiet. Sarah. So he did. How they'd met. Young and foolish. How she'd loved this land like breathing. How she'd wanted children more than anything. How the birth went wrong and he'd had to choose save her or save the baby. How he'd failed at both. I should have done something different, he said, voice raw. Should have gotten the doctor sooner. Should have. You did everything you could. Clara said fierce. You can't carry that. Can't seem to put it down, either. She took his hand. Simple gesture, profound weight. My family said I was God's mistake, she whispered. Punishment for some sin. Maybe they were right. They were wrong. Cordell turned to face her, eyes burning. You're the first real thing I've felt in 5 years. If that's a mistake, then I'll take 1,000 more. The storm raged outside. Inside, walls fell that had stood too long. They talked until the fire burned low. Shared grief, Shared healing? When Clara finally dozed off, head on his shoulder. Cordell stayed still, didn't want to break the moment. Dawn came gentle. Storm cleared like it had never been. They stepped outside together. World transformed white and clean and new. But on the horizon, dust cloud. Riders approaching. Her family had come. Silver Ridge Town Square, midday. Word spread fast in small places, Brennan family demanding their daughter back. Cordell refusing. Crowd gathered like moths to flame, hungry for drama. Clara stood beside Cordell, chin up, hands steady despite the trembling deep inside. Her father climbed down from the wagon. Jacob Brennan Hardman, harder eyes, dressed in his Sunday clothes for the performance. Her brother stood behind him, arms crossed. Her mother stayed in the wagon, face hidden. There she is, Jacob announced, voice carrying. My daughter, stolen from honest work. She wasn't stolen. Cordell said quiet, dangerous quiet. She was bought, legal contract, from a man who had no right to own her in the first place. Jacob's lawyer, sleazy little man named Pritchard, stepped forward. Territorial law is clear. Unwed woman of unsound situation can be returned to family custody. The crowd murmured. Law was murky. Precedent unclear. Clara felt the trap closing. Cordell reached into his coat, pulled out a roll of bills. Here's $500. Take it and leave. Clara's world stopped. Money. Again. Always money. I'm not for sale. The words tore out of her, loud and jagged. The crowd gasped. She looked at Cordell, saw his face change as he realized what he'd done. How it looked. How it felt. She ran, limping, stumbling, but running, down the street, into the alley, gone. Cordell started after her, but Pritchard blocked him. Court hearing, tomorrow morning. Judge Harrison will decide custody. The lawyer smiled, showing teeth. Family has rights. Mr. Cordell. Even rich ranchers can't buy their way past that. Jacob added his piece. She's my daughter. Law says she comes home. Cordell's voice went cold as January. Law also says slavery's over. But here you are, selling your child. He pushed past, went looking for Clara. Found her eventually hiding in his barn loft, knees pulled to chest, face buried. Clara, you tried to buy me. Her voice broke. Just like them. I was trying to make them leave. With money. Always money. That's all I am. A transaction. He stood below, helpless. That's not true. Then why won't you listen? I said I'm not for sale. You didn't hear me. No one ever hears me. She turned her back. He called her name twice more. She didn't answer. Night fell. Cordell sat on a hay bale below the loft, head in hands. Lowest point of his life. And that was saying something. Clara stayed silent above, both of them alone in the same small space. Midnight found Cordell at Sarah's grave, small plot beneath the cottonwoods. Simple stone with her name and dates. He knelt in the dirt, head bowed. First time he'd cried in 5 years. I failed you, he whispered. Now I'm failing her too. Don't know how to do this without breaking everything. You're doing it wrong, is all. Moses Trent emerged from the shadows, moving quiet despite his age. Didn't hear you ride up. Wasn't trying to be heard, was trying to stop you from drowning out here. Moses sat on a stump, creaking. You tried to buy her freedom with money, but freedom ain't for sale. James, it's for fighting for... I can't lose her. Then stop trying to save her like she's property. Stand with her like she's a partner. Tomorrow, in that courtroom. You tell the truth. Not about what you paid, about what she is. What if it's not enough? Then at least you'll have done right. That's all any of us get. Moses left him there. Cordell stayed until dawn touched the sky. In the barn loft, Clara had found something old box, dusty, tucked in the rafters. Opened it by lantern light. Sarah's journal. She read every page. Sarah's handwriting, looping and careful. Entries about loving the ranch, wanting children, hoping for family. The final entry. Dated the day she died. If I don't survive this birth, I hope James finds light again. Tell him it's okay to live. Tell him love doesn't run out just because hearts break. There's always more. He just has to be brave enough to reach for it. Clara closed the journal. Tears streaming. She understood now. She climbed down the ladder at first light, found Cordell at the cabin table, exhausted, head in hands. She touched his shoulder. He looked up. I'm not leaving, she said, and neither are you. Clara, you didn't betray me. You tried to protect me the only way you knew, but protection isn't what I need. I need someone to stand beside me, not in front of me. Then that's what I'll do. Moses arrived as the sun broke the horizon. Judge wants testimony at 10. You two ready? Clara met Cordell's eyes. He nodded. We're ready. They rode to town together, side by side, ready for battle. The territorial courthouse was packed standing room only. Every gossip and gawker in Silver Ridge crammed inside. Judge Harrison, 60 years old. Weathered face. Eyes that missed nothing, sat behind a scarred oak desk. He banged his gavel once. Silence fell like a hammer. Brennan family petitioned to reclaim custody of Clara Brennan. State your case. Pritchard stood, all oily confidence. Your Honor, this is simple. Miss Brennan is an unwed woman with physical disability, sold by her family to work for Mr. Gibbs. Mr. Cordell purchased her contract without family consent. We argue she requires family care and protection. He presented testimony from Mrs. Gibbs coerced, clearly uncomfortable, stating Clara had seemed disturbed and unfit at the trading post. The crowd murmured. Jacob Brennan played his part well-concerned father, just wanting his daughter safe. Judge Harrison turned to Cordell. Your defense? Cordell stood, presented the legal contract, explained the rescue, the conditions at Gibbs' place, Clara's work at his ranch. The judge listened, face unreadable. Legal purchase doesn't prove she's better off. Could be you're just a different kind of cage. Mr. Cordell. Cordell's hands clenched. Law wasn't enough. Moses had been right. Then Clara stood. The room went silent. She limped to the front, still noticeable, but less than before. Stood before the judge, shoulders back, voice clear. Your Honor, may I speak? Harrison studied her, nodded. Proceed. They called me lame, said I was God's mistake. Sold me because I reminded them what they lacked courage to see worth beyond what's convenient. Her voice didn't waver. Mr. Cordell didn't buy me. He saw me, really saw me. I chose to stay with him. I work his land, manage his books, and I've rebuilt what my family tried to destroy. She turned to face the crowd. If being able to think, work, and choose for myself makes me unsound, then judge me. But judge them first. She pointed at her family. What kind of people sell their child? The courtroom erupted gasps, shouts, arguments breaking out. Judge Harrison banged his gavel. Order before he could continue. Mrs. Gibbs stood, shaking like a leaf. I lied. I was scared of my husband. She was never disturbed. She was the sanest person in that place. Moses rose next. I've known James Cordell 20 years. He's honorable. And Miss Brennan's got more sense than half this town combined. Cordell stepped forward. Your Honor, I've got land, money, reputation. I'll give it all up before I let her go back to that. She's free, and if she'll have it, she's my partner, not my property. Judge Harrison leaned back, stroking his beard. Long silence. Finally, Miss Brennan, what do you want? Clara's voice was steady. To be seen as I am, Capable. Free. Home. The judge nodded, banged his gavel. Contract is void. She was sold under false pretense. Clara Brennan is a free citizen with full rights. Family petition dismissed. This court finds no evidence of unsound mind or need for custody. He fixed Jacob with a hard stare. In fact, I question the soundness of any parent who'd sell their child. Get out of my courtroom. The gavel fell. Final. Clara and Cordell stood together, breathing hard. Around them. The crowd erupted applause, cheers, a few angry shouts from her family's corner. Jacob Brennan stormed out, face purple with rage. His family followed. Clara turned to Cordell. He was smiling, first real smile she'd seen. "We won," she whispered. "You won." He corrected. "I just stood beside you." Outside. Moses clapped them both on the shoulder. "That's how it's done. Now go home." They did. 2 months later, mid-May. The ranch bloomed wildflowers carpeting the fields. Grass green and thick. Cottonwoods full of new leaves. Life everywhere you looked. Clara knelt in the garden, planting tomatoes with sure hands. Her limp had faded to almost nothing physical therapy, and ranch work had healed what neglect had broken. She laughed at something Cordell said, teasing him about his terrible sense of spacing plants. "They need room to breathe," she insisted. "They're vegetables. Clara, they don't breathe." "Everything breathes. You just have to pay attention." Moses rode up mid-morning, bringing news. Brennan family left the territory. Farm foreclosed. Word is they're headed east. Clara nodded, feeling nothing. No triumph, no sorrow, just relief. They made their choices. "And you made yours," Moses said. Towns noticed. "By the way, how you've settled, how things are." "Right. Here." Sunday morning. They rode to church. Clara hesitated at the door, memories of judgment. Whispers. Stares. Cordell took her hand. Together. They walked in. The congregation turned. Then, slowly, people stood. Not in protest, in respect. The Reverend smiled, gestured to the front pew. "Miss Brennan, Mr. Cordell, welcome." Clara's eyes filled. Cordell squeezed her hand. That evening. They sat on the porch watching the sun paint the sky gold and pink. The air smelled of grass and possibility. Cordell handed her a document, legal papers. Official seal. "What's this? Deed to half the ranch, partner means partner." Clara stared at the paper. Her name. Right there. Legal owner. She kissed his cheek. Tears falling. "Thank you." For what? For seeing me when everyone else looked away. "Thank you for letting me." They sat in comfortable silence as twilight deepened. Somewhere in the distance, a coyote called. Creek water murmured over stones. The land settled into night. "What now?" Clara asked. Cordell smiled. "We build. Whatever comes next, we build it together." Camera pulled back, cabin solid against the darkening sky. Smoke rising gentle from the chimney. Horses grazing in the field. Land green and endless. Clara's hand rested in Cordell's. Not romantic spectacle, just quiet truth. Two people who'd been broken finding wholeness in each other. Building not just a home, but a life worth living. Out here. Worth wasn't measured in what you could do, but in who you were when the world told you you were nothing. Clara Brennan had taught a lonely rancher that lesson. And together, they'd built proof that some things, dignity, love, second chances couldn't be bought or sold, only earned the hard way. But the only way worth having.